Hey guys, Jim Bounds at Motorhome Rehab Ranch. And as the title said to this video, so you think you might have a new motor or a fresh motor in your future. All right. It's a problem. It's always a problem. One, the motor is way the heck up in that motorhome. And it's not as easy as lifting the hood and grabbing it and pulling it out like most cars are. It is a little bit difficult. Number two, it's a little bit old. It's 50 years old. There's not a lot of mechanics as there used to be that can work on this thing. Plus, it's not an in and out thing, and it's more of a labor of love than you pay someone actually a fair price to do all the work. Does that make sense? These things have gotten to the age that it takes a special person. You say, well, they don't know carburetors. Well, I've got fuel injection. Well, it's even slimmer to find somebody that knows a carbureted engine and knows how to modify it to a fuel injected engine. So you've got a real problem. So if you're looking to refresh your motor today, unfortunately, it's difficult to do it yourself. And it's even more difficult to find someone else to do it. Right? So how can we do this? It needs to have a motor. Make sense? Well, in the past, you would take it to someone, they would pull the motor out, they would take the motor apart, they would take it to a machinist, take it to a builder. They would build the long block. The long block is the heads and the block itself. They would build a long block. Then they would clean up all the hardware, all the metal, the sheet metal, the valve covers and all this stuff, and assemble the long block. Okay. Then they would take the long block and install it. Okay. The one part of that you could do, we went to Bonneville High School and we showed high school kids how to put a motor in the motorhome, and they did it. So the labor can be done. The R&R can be done by really most anybody, and I can help you with that. Okay. The one part of this thing, call it the heavy lifting, is the building of the long block. Okay. Now, if you're doing all the labor of cleaning all the sheet metal, painting everything, and then doing a final assembly, okay, building the long block is not as expensive, because what's the expense? Materials and labor. The materials are what they are, and the labor is you're paying them just to do the heavy lifting, the long block, building the long block. Okay? If we could find a national company that can build long blocks, you and I can assemble, can pull the motor out, take it apart, send it off, have it the long block built, and put it back together. That's a really good way to have it done. And in fact, this is what we have today. You know, go on your internet, go to Google, and put in S&J Engines. S&J Engines. Okay? These folks are in Oregon. Now, unlike other builders that you find, unlike Jasper or many other ones which build complete motors, what S&J is doing is building long blocks. They've been doing it for a while. I've watched them for some time, and they've built a lot of motors the 455 and 403 Oldsmobile motors for the motorhomes. And I have seen good results. Yeah. So here recently, last month, I gave him a call, a guy named Ryan at S&J Motors. Their phone number, by the way, if you've got your pen, is 800-942-7800. That's 942-7800. When you call there, ask for Ryan. Because after talking with Ryan, I gave him our build spec. What oil pump, what cam, what roller rockers, all this stuff that went into our build. If you've been watching our database and you've seen there's like 4-episode series about how to build the motor. There's some specific things, not overly specific, but you've got to have that stuff done. And S&J through Ryan has agreed to do our build specs, the build specs that we use at the co-op, and build motors for us. I'm very excited about this. And in fact, I've got a report. Yes, sir. We have had success. We've had a motor pulled. Pulled the motor and transmission, pulled the heads off, but pulled the motor and transmission in one piece and went down with it. Okay. And if you want to try this, call me. I'll tell you different ways that we can have this done. This is going outside, not through the inside, not just the motor. Because to be honest with you, if the motor has been unscrewed because it's got age and all this stuff, the transmission's not far behind it. So we want to take them both out at one time. All right. So he dropped them both out. Right here is where he took it apart, motor and the transmission separately. Going to send the transmission off to another person. But the long block, which are the two heads and the block, got it all set up, got it wrapped up on a strap, and shipped it off. Shipped it off to S&J in Oregon. And you say, Oregon, oh my God. Think about it, from Florida to Oregon. I checked it out, $400 round trip. Not bad, not bad. So they wrapped it up, sent it off, got it back. Water pump wasn't on it. Timing chain was installed. They put the timing chain eccentric in it, put the water pump on it, and then put the motor together. Motor in the hole. It's called in the hole. Not hooked up yet, but it is in the hole. These pictures will be at the bottom of the Patreon post. Did it all himself. Got it in. I think he had a buddy come and help him. It's a lot easier with two people. I agree with you. Triumphant. It worked. Proud of him. These are things that we can do, you say in-house or do it yourself or whatever. We can pull the motor. You can ship it off to S&J. They can do what they're going to do, and then you can get the motor back. You can get the motor back, and then you can put it back in. If you want to go carbureted, great. I've got a place you can send a carburetor. If you want to go fuel injected, we'll hook you up with Phytech, and I'll explain to you why and all that kind of stuff. This is kind of, I would put this in the bucket list category. If you bought the motorhome and something happens to the drivetrain of the motor and you've got to do something to it, hopefully it'll only be the one time you'll have to do it. And what the heck? Let's have a bucket list, right? I'm really pleased. I really want to thank S&J for coming through with us. They're a big enough company to do a quality job, but they're small enough to be able to do exactly what we need them to do. And it's very exciting stuff. Yeah. We'll have other information about transmissions and where to send transmissions and stuff. And if you do have a local builder, that's fine. That's great. You're very fortunate. You're blessed. And if he does a good job, he's right there. You can ask him all the questions. And when you get finished, you'll know more about your engine and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have someone to do the heavy lifting in your area, doing a program with S&J, I think, will work well for us. Prices were lower than I would have built them. See, that's the thing. S&J is a production shop, but in that they only focus on the long block and let you spend all your time doing all the sheet metal and final assembly and all that kind of stuff. That cuts out a lot of things. And also, you can go back because the motor will be open. Oil pan will not be on it. You will not send them the oil pan. You'll be able to check the oil pump. You'll be able to even check torques and things like that. So when you get finished with this engine through S&J, you'll know the motor, and you'll have an opportunity to have a motor built to specification and have a good chance that it'll work when you're done. All right. Look, I wanted to pass this information along. I got a report back. The guy's happy, really pleased, real happy with his motor. Fired right up. He's just really pleased. If you want to do this, you give me a call. Let's talk about it. Let's get as much information in your head as possible. And then you give Ryan a call at S&J and get them hooked up. I'd be happy to help you. That's what it's about, being a ranching. All right. Look, thanks a lot. Watch us on Patreon because I'll have pictures at the bottom of this that you'll be able to see. If you're on YouTube, remember guys, YouTube will be slowing down more. I won't have as many YouTubes as we will on Patreon. So get into the habit of going to Patreon. Great. Thanks a lot. Hit like and click and all that stuff on YouTube and give me a comment back. Tell me what you think about this. Give me your questions. Be happy to do a follow-up video on this to answer your questions. It'll be a good one. Give me a good video. Great. All right. Well, look, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. And we'll talk to you next time.